Okay, so as we wait for others to join, probably I think Dheeraj is the new joinee today, so he can introduce himself quickly, and maybe if the others can also quickly introduce yourself. And then if there are
Hello
any
everyone.
questions.
Sorry, Nishant, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Dheeraj, go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. Dheeraj here. Nishant and my wife were colleagues, and that's how I got to know about Nishant. Um, Basically, I'm from Bangalore, born and brought up here, chartered accountant by profession, working in Fidelity. Um, I was interested off late. I've been spending a lot of time in understanding the markets, and that's when my wife told you should start talking to Nishant, and he'll be the best person to guide you. And I'm here. That's
Good.
a very short intro about me.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Dheeraj. Hi.
Thank you. Hello.
Okay, others also want to do it quickly. Introduce yourself to Dheeraj.
Hi Dheeraj, myself Ranjit. Even I am from Bangalore, but currently I'm staying in Germany from past 6 years. So by profession, I am a software developer, and I am also I am very new to finance, and even for the stock market, I am very new. Maybe not less than 4 or 5 months, not more than that. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Dheeraj. I'm Kunal. I'm currently based in London. I'm in corporate finance in the transport sector. And I've joined this course about 2.5 months ago and enjoying it. And feel free to ask any questions if you require.
Thank you. Hello.
Hey, Dheeraj. Hi, this is Vivek. I've been living in Germany, Munich for the past 2 years too. I'm a hardware engineer by my profession, but uh, very recently introduced into the whole markets and finance and market. Been enjoying it. My primary objective from this group was to become financially literate, just to be conscious about what's happening around in the market, and just to see how my job and my field fits into the bigger game. And like Kunal mentioned, I think it's very important that you all participate well in this forum. No question is undermined or no voices are stifled here. So I hope you really enjoy it, and we get to learn a lot from you too, from your experiences.
Thank you. And even I'm hoping for the same. Learning at both ends.
Sure, others also want to quickly go. I also see Pranali has also joined. I think today is her first session as well. So Pranali, can you do a quick introduction? We are doing a quick round of introductions.
Okay, hi, hello everyone. I'm Pranali Sawant. I'm currently residing in Sweden, Gothenburg, and I'm from Mumbai, India. And I'm from financial background. I worked with Motilal Oswal Financial Securities for almost 3.5 years. And later I was working with JP Morgan. So I have some kind of experience in stock market. But in these 1.5 year, I've lost contact with such. So I just want to be up to date again.
And what do you do in Sweden, Pranali?
I'm searching for job and I'm learning
Okay.
Swedish. Yeah, and I'm investing in. Sorry, what?
You moved recently there, is it? Or you've been there for a while?
Yeah, I've moved in January 2019 after my marriage, and
Okay.
I was
Fair
working November 2018, and
Okay.
so when I came here, I've been invested in Swedish stock market, in mutual
Okay.
funds and the local stocks as such.
All right.
So I would like to learn how to apply things in market.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay,
Hi,
great.
this is Deepthi. Hi, this is Deepthi. I'm also living in Germany, in Munich, for the last 10 odd years. Much like Pranali, I worked in the finance field. I'm an MBA finance. I worked in finance field and moved to Germany, and has become, just like Pranali, the scapegoat of the expat spouse game. I have been on search of for a job for a long time, and yeah, for the last few years, I have lost touch with the stock markets. Now that now, as they say, the crisis time is the best time to jump in to the markets, and that's why I joined this group. And thoroughly enjoying the discussion, and it had been a great revision, and I have learned a lot of new things, and very interesting group. I was telling Nishant the other day, I'm feeling at home, because this kind of like-minded people who are interested in finance or investing had been missing from my life for quite a few years now. And yeah, I'm looking forward to great sessions, many more great sessions.
Thank you, Dipti. So I think Ankit, Nimit, Ishwar are left, and Vaibhav. If I miss someone, please.
Vaibhav, I think he said he will not be joining.
No, we have the other Vaibhav from Banaras.
Okay.
Yeah, so Nimit,
Hi,
Vaibhav.
hi, sir. Yeah. Hi, sir. I'm a student. I'm a university student, and this program is one of the best program. I'm a student of finance, so this is my learning phase. So I'm really learning from this program. I'm very happy to be a part of this group, and I guess this is one of the most active group in my phone. And like, I'm really enjoying this program.
Yeah, I can go next. Right, this is Nimit. I'm staying in France, Paris, from last 1.5 years now. I came in France in January 2019. By profession, I'm a consultant, and by education, I'm a software engineer. And my primary purpose of joining this group is to understand the whole financial market as well as the monetary system that is running across the world from the holistic perspective, be it the historical, be it the present, and be it the futuristic systems that are going to come in near future, to understand how the socio-political game work along with the financial markets, to understand the holistic perspective of the entire spectrum. And yeah, that's it.
I guess I can go next, Nishant. My name is Ishwar. I'm currently in Nice, in France. By profession, I'm a data scientist. I'm originally from Karnataka, from my city called Udupi. I got into this financial industry, stock markets, etc. Quite recently. I was kind of inspired by my uncle who basically lives off dividends right now, and he's quite peaceful. He quit his job, and that's his main source of income. And so I told myself, why not? It's better to start early. But the problem is that I didn't know anything about it until quite recently. I thought it was something like betting, where people just bet into different companies and they end up losing money. But there is a whole different ballgame with value investing. So yeah, I hope to carry on very interesting discussions in the future with you all. Thanks.
Thanks, Ishwar. So I think Vaibhav has joined, Siddharth has joined, and also Ankit. So guys, quickly, can you introduce yourself? Vaibhav, Siddharth.
Yeah,
Nishant. I'll introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Vaibhav from India. Sorry, I'm from Ahmedabad, and basically I was in Grenoble for around 1.5 years, and then I was in Nice and Paris for a while. So I did my master's there in specialization in entrepreneurship and strategy. And right now I'm working on my startup. I've come back to India. I'm working on a startup, and I'm creating like a export-led trade link between India and France. So I'm working upon that. And regarding this group, I came across Nishant's video on Indians in Paris. And as I found that it was a really informative video, I came across him, and then I decided to join this group, and it has been a great experience till now. I've been learning a lot about investments and in general a lot about economy, world economy, currency, history, everything. So it's a great mix of everything, and all the people are also very interactive and have great intellect. So I recommend everyone to interact a lot and to grab the most out of this opportunity.
Thanks, Vaibhav. Ankit, you want to go next?
Yes. Hi guys, Ankit this side. Currently I am working with the Clifford Chance, which is UK based company in Gurugram. Earlier I worked with the Tata Consultancy Services in the payments and remittances department. I have completed my PGDM finance from IMT Ghaziabad, and as Nishant, when I had discussed with Nishant, he has told that everyone is doing the debate, but nobody is doing the collaboration and discussion. This is the best point I like about the Nishant, and we are doing that on the group. We are just sharing our knowledge, and I think this is the best platform to gain the capital markets and financial terminologies for our knowledge and other purposes also. Thank you.
Sure. So Siddharth, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, I'm Siddharth. I'm from Chennai, and I was actually always intrigued by the value investing premise, and I met Nishant through a LinkedIn chat. We connected on LinkedIn, and then I got introduced to this group, and it's been a great experience until now. I was able to connect with people from diverse backgrounds, and also understand their perspectives about the economy and the investment perspective they have. So until now, it's been a great journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Siddharth. Hope everyone knows me, so I will not introduce myself. So just one request, if people can come on video, please do. I'll start my video. If not, that's fine as well. And the second thing is, the agenda for today is to review Titan. So whoever is prepared can talk about it. But as is the norm, before I start with the agenda for today, if there are any questions based on the discussions we had in the last week, somebody watched a video, somebody has a generic question about the program, about the vision, about how this month will be, or anything in general related to finance, please start. I'll give 1 minute. If there are no questions in the next minute or few seconds, then I'll hand it over to the first presenter for today. The agenda for today is to analyze Titan. We have put 2 days, today and tomorrow. So I was expecting a lot more participation. That is one thing that is lacking. I think it will be good if all of you put in the group that everybody should participate. When I say the group, the WhatsApp group. So I think sometimes peer pressure also works. So maybe people will be more inclined to join. I do understand it's summer in Europe and a few sunny days and no lockdowns. People want to go out, but it's a 1 hour program and we committed to that. So if everybody joins, it makes it more value add for everyone. It's like we are all learning from each other. Okay, I always quote Einstein. Or Einstein or Newton, who was it? I don't remember, but it's basically like we are all like kids playing on the seashore, and the knowledge is like an ocean. So we all have to learn from each other. There is so much to learn that one lifetime is probably not enough. So and we live in the knowledge economy. So we have to share, collaborate, work with each other. That's the only way to change the world. Cool. So yeah, without talking too much, I know I can talk a lot. So without talking too much more, any questions at all? No. Okay. Cool. Then I'll take that as a no. So over to who would like to present first? Ishwar, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind presenting.
And
Sure.
then I could
Okay.
present after.
Sure. So I think that should be enough for today. I think two of you. If not, I will also give some insights. So go ahead, Ishwar. Over to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll just share my screen. So, okay. So I used a lot of information from the screener.in. I find it pretty useful to go through all the summaries of the companies. So basically, Titan is a company that I'm not really familiar with, but after I've been speaking to my uncle and a couple of other people, I realized that it's a big brand in India. So just a brief description of the company. It was established in 1984 as a joint venture between the Tata Group and the Tamil Nadu Industrial Corporation. And it's involved in consumer durables and other products like jewelry and eyewear through its Titan Eye Plus chain. I did some qualitative analysis. I understand that it has an enormous brand value. It's the largest integrated watchmaker in the world. And its jewelry segment through Tanishq is actually a market leader. So I actually didn't know that Tanishq belongs to Titan. So they kind of separated the brands in some sense.
So Ishwar, can I add one thing here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say Tanishq, right? In fact, there is a very famous tagline, Tanishq by Titan. So they do a lot of ads with that brand name actually.
Okay. Right. I was not familiar with this brand.
And just to one point here. So
Yeah.
I see a lot of new words here, guys. So this is, I have got some feedback that for some of you, the basic words are not very clear, like CAGR or ROC. When I was looking at a screener, just ROE and all. So please ask those questions, okay? Because if you don't ask, it is assumed that you know it. Okay, so please ask, and some of us or all of us will be happy to clarify those points. Okay, so very important to ask questions. Yeah, go ahead, Ishwar.
And Ishwar, to add to your point number one, where they say where you mentioned that they're the largest integrated watch manufacturer. They
Yeah.
recently acquired another smartwatch Indian brand called Hug. So that's
Okay.
another space that they're getting into as well. So
Okay.
that is really going to strengthen the profile even on the digital front.
Thanks for
Sorry,
that information.
correct me if I'm wrong. I think Fast Track is also a brand of Titan.
Yeah,
It
Fast Track is
yeah.
also a brand of Titan. They have many brands: Titan, Fast Track, Sonata, Nebula, Regalia,
They also have a
Zilis.
rights for Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss is a very famous German brand.
And they are also into a partnership with Fitbit, I think. Fitbit and HP for smartwatches.
I think now they've retracted from Fitbit, if I'm not wrong, because they've made like a huge investment into their own into another smartwatch company called Hug. It is actually one of the first India's smartwatch competitor, giving like a tough run for even Apple Watch and Pebble, if you remember that.
Okay.
So yeah, and they've acquired the entire team with 0 layoffs, so they are really valuing their R&D and the team effort that has been done so far. So we can expect some pretty good moves for Indian market in that space too.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for the discussion. I learned a lot about that. So I'll continue.
Sure.
So
Just once again, just one point
Yeah.
I want to add. In your analysis, have you put the last 20 years stock price growth of Titan?
See, I was hoping to just take it from screener, so I'll just share the screen once it comes to.
No, not
Yeah,
the P&L. I am thinking of the. I'm asking about the share price growth. Have you tracked that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, because that is a very interesting thing to look at. Huh? Titan has created a lot of wealth for a lot of people. So in
Right.
20 years, I think its stock price is up 1,000 times or something. So 1 lakh would be
Yeah.
worth 10 crores now.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, my uncle had a he purchased it way back in 2008, and yeah, so he's pretty happy right now. And
Yeah.
I don't know how he figured out that this would be a good company back then. He lives in Chennai, and I
Because it
guess
was also by Tata Group, probably.
yeah. Basically, if you're living in Chennai, you would have some kind of knowledge, some kind of diffusive knowledge about this company, because they're based in that region, right?
So the plant is in Hosur. I was just checking. So they have 3 plants.
Hosur, yeah.
Hosur, Pantnagar. Pantnagar is in, I don't know, I need to check which state, and Sikkim. So there are 3 plants which I saw today. But
Okay.
anyways, yeah, Ishwar, continue. So basically what I wanted to highlight is the share price. I don't know this takes into consideration your bonus issues and all. But yeah, just looking at this, it's 300 times, right? At $3 and now it's at $1,000. So I don't know if it's adjusted for stock splits and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. So what else? Yeah, so they are doing quite well in terms of R&D. I found some articles where they are investing into R&D for their eye care segment. They're a customer-oriented company, and they offer a wide range of products in terms of watches, jewelry, and eyewear. Although, from what I understand, that 92% of their revenue is coming just from the jewelry segment, which is expected to explode in India. If it hasn't already exploded, it will explode after the COVID crisis subsides. The Titan brand has a good market penetration. So in every street corner, you'll find some kind of Titan brand. One negative point is that because they're kind of like a company which offers luxury products, they're going to be impacted in the short term by the COVID crisis. So at least for the next 2 or 4 quarters, there will be some kind of impact in their revenue. And if I go back to the screener, so yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned, Nishant. What exactly is a CAGR? And I'm trying to find the CAGR here. Yeah, do you know where to find it? Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Should be there.
Yeah. So from what I understand, it's a capital growth year on year, and that's about 23%, which is quite good. You would expect to see some kind of
just one pause there. So
Yeah.
can someone explain in detail what is CAGR? And this is one of the very basic concepts of finance. Dheeraj, you don't go. You are a CA. I know you will know the answer.
I thought of going and not stop me. Okay, let others talk about it.
It's basically the compounded growth rate, probably, right?
Yeah, Dipti, again, you will know it. I want somebody who doesn't speak up much. Vaibhav from Banaras or Ankit? One of you want to try? Okay, so guys, then you
Sir,
need to ask.
actually, I don't have an idea about that thing. I have to read first.
So then you should ask the question, right?
Yeah, sure.
See, I am asking the question. So you guys need to ask this question. That is what I'm saying. Please ask, because nobody will know if you don't know it. Okay, so let the expert explain. So this is the basic concept of finance. All the CAs will be best in it. So Dheeraj, go ahead.
I'll definitely give a try because everybody can explain things in a better way. So CAGR stands for Compounded Annual Growth Rate. I'll try to explain this by giving a simple example. Let us say you're drawing 100 rupees as your annual income, and that 100 grew by 10% to next year. Now that's a simple 10% growth. But if you were to calculate the same thing from the time you joined, from the time you started working, you will bring in a time factor there. So it will consider, the CAGR will consider the time factor since the time you have started earning your income. So so basically when we apply this to a stock, it tells you from 2000 and from since inception how the stock has been growing on an annualized basis. I've tried to keep it as simple. I don't know if there'll be many ways to explain this, but simply it's not a simple percentage increase, it's a percentage increase with a time value attached to it.
So Dheeraj, this CAGR can be applied to basically any kind of information, right? So basically this information here is also a CAGR if you attach it to a time number.
Correct. Say for example, you said it's a 300% increase, right? You took the start of Titan when it was issued at say 10 rupees. Today it is running at 1000 rupees. It's not a simple 10 to 1000 rupees percentage. 10 rupees was 10 years ago. 1000 is now. So what you do is you take the time value, so which is the last 10 years value. So you calculate a simple percentage and you take, I'm trying to give you the formula now. What I'll do is I'll probably share the formula in the group. So basically what it will tell you is, if I were to annualize the growth rate, at what rate the stock is growing, or what rate my expenses are growing, or what rate the salary is growing.
Okay.
That's what the CAGR will tell you.
Okay, so it makes sense that for the stock price in the last year, the CAGR is negative, basically because the stock price came down.
Yeah, it's last 1 year, is it?
They have different numbers, but yeah, last 1 year it's a negative because basically the stock price came down when compared to this time 1 year ago.
Yes, so go to that screener screen. I will explain a few things, Ishwar.
Guys, I have another question. Sorry. When you say it is an annualized growth rate, so when we say 23.57% for 3 years and 23.04 for 5 years, is that the growth rate they've calculated in terms with a time period of 3 years, or in a window of 3 years the annualized growth rate was 23%?
It is annualized, so it is compounded annualized. So basically, to explain in the simplest term, so your stock price 3 years ago was 100. On year 1, it grew by 23.57. So at the end of year 1, it was 123.57. Then you take 23.57 off 123.57. So which will come to maybe something around 27 or whatever. So that makes it 150. Then 23.57 of 150. So basically, if you do a simple 23.57 into 3, your growth rate will be 100 to 170. But in the power of compounding, it is 100 to 190. And as it grows over 40 years, so basically, let me give you a very simple example. If you put in 1 lakh today and you get a CAGR of 20%, in 40 years, it won't be 800%. 20 into 40 is 800%, which means 1 lakh should become 9 lakhs. But in a CAGR concept, it will become 120 plus 20% of 120. So when you compound it, it will become something like 200 times.
Yeah, so I can give you another example, very simple example, if if I'm not wrong, and everybody would understand the concept of simple interest and compound interest. So consider CAGR as a compound interest, compounded and on an annual basis.
Right, Nimit, I understand that, but what I wanted to clarify was on, the way the data has been represented here. So when they say 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years, that's the timing window in which they've calculated the compound interest annually.
Yeah, so basically this for 3 years, it means the last 3 years, the CAGR was 23.57. 5 years, in last 5 years, it was 23.05 or 04. And in 10 years, in last 10 years, it was 23.64.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So Vivek, Nimit, Dheeraj, you guys don't answer this. Okay. Dipti, Kunal, TTM. I can see TTM here. What is it, TTM? Ishwar, can you just increase the size a little bit?
Yeah. Is it better?
And sorry, we are jumping in between, but I think this is where I get the most ideas. Okay, so you can take your time. So you will complete your session today, and then Kunal can speak tomorrow. I think most of the others were even not prepared. So I think that will be good utilization of our time. So guys, TTM.
I think it's something to do with the trailing period, right? Something I don't remember the abbreviation, but it's
Okay.
carried. I think Akash told once it's for 12 months it's calculated, I believe.
Ranjit, I thought you will know it, but yeah. So I will give the full form. Yeah. So
Is
mine,
it trailing 12 months returns or
yes,
the growth?
yes, that is correct, Pranali. Yeah. So Vaibhav and Ankit, did you know this one?
No, not exactly.
Yeah, I have read something about trailing 12 months. It's a term describing the past 12 month of a company performance, right?
Yeah, so trailing 12 months is the last 12-month performance. So if you see here clearly, the numbers have come down. So if you see the 10-year average, it is 23%. Last 3 years, it was 27, but last year was very bad. So this kind of gives you a very good picture. Now I have some questions, okay? This is open to everyone. I can see that the compounded sales growth, these are all CA, okay? Compounded annual sales growth. They have removed the A, but these are all compounded annual sales growth, compounded annual profit growth, and compounded annual growth rate for stock price. So these are all CAGR for all of them, okay? I'm sure of it. Now tell me, for sales, I see 17.61 over 10 years. But for profit, I see 23.39. What does that tell me about the company?
That they have effectively
That
managed their costs, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Dipti, one by one. Yeah. Punna, let Dipti make her point, then you can go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, sales is the top line and profit is the bottom line. What lies in between is more or less their costs, various kinds of costs. But in total, they might have managed their costs effectively, or it could also be due to income from investments. Either of these.
Correct. Is this clear to everyone? 2 points that Dipti mentioned.
Yes.
Deepti, if you could explain the second point a bit further, please.
So there will be retained earnings every year, right? So
Right.
this retained earnings could either be invested into the company. Yeah.
You talked about retained earnings. Does everyone understand retained earnings?
Earnings from the previous
Yes.
financial year, right?
And forwarded to next year.
Previous financial
Is
years.
everyone clear with it? The question is for everyone. Is anyone who doesn't understand what is retained earning? Okay, go ahead, Dipti.
So the retained earnings from previous years will be reinvested into the company in various forms as an operating income that they need for day-to-day running of the business. Also, part of it could be, retained earnings is basically after paying out dividends, of course. So the rest of the income could be invested, like passive investment, or there could be a proper active management of investments going on, but there will be effectively some income generated on these investments. So that income also adds between top line and bottom line. Also, the costs were effectively managed. Maybe there
Right.
was what is it called, scale, on based of scale. As they're increasing, they're able to manage to make some savings
More
on scale.
market penetration. Yeah.
Actually, this also shows that their margins have come low, right? So probably they were having like low volume, high profit. They were into high value product lines, and over a period of time, we see that in the last 3 years, their compounded sales growth is 20%, and the profit growth is also 27%. But in the 10 years, in the 10-year period, their growth was only 17%, the sales growth, but the profit was 23%. So this means that in the first 3 years of the 10-year period, they would have sold higher value products, and now they're making margins based on low value products with minor margins. Is that fair?
No, Vivek. So I think so for the 10-year period, let's stick to the 10-year period. So the sales growth is 17.61, but the profit growth is 23.39. So what is your point there?
So my point is that they are in the business of high value products, high value, high margins, where the volume need not be very high to make profit.
How do you get that from this numbers? Just by looking at sales growth and profit growth, how are you getting that?
Because if my sales growth is only 17%, yet they're able to make 23% compounded profit growth, then that means that the margins that they have per sale of product is higher, isn't it?
Just adding on.
What are you comparing the 23% with to determine that they're making that it is high margin?
No, but so see, to add here, Vivek, how will you know? So Deepti explained, right? So I could have been selling a product for 100 rupees 10 years ago and making a profit of only 2. And the next year, I increased my sales by 17%, average, whatever they are saying. So 17.61, let me round it off to 118. Okay. And I increased my margin from 2 to 2.25% only. That will also increase my profit, right? Because on 100, I was making 2. On 118, I'm making 2.25. So 118 into 2.25 by 100. So that will actually come to maybe 2.4 or something. So I just did a small margin expansion, but my margins need not be very high. It could have been only 1% also. So this number is not telling you anything about the margin. It is only telling you that I was able to grow my profit higher than sales, which means I was able to reduce the cost year on year. Either I manage my capital more efficiently or something, or like Deepti said, this is only 10-year data. So before 10 years, maybe this company is running for 30 years. So previous 20 years, I made profit of 50,000 crores. And if you see, the payout ratio of dividend is very low. It is around 25%. So out of the profit of 20,000 crores, I only paid out 5,000 crores as dividend. The rest 15,000 crores I retained in the business. That 15,000 crores I have invested somewhere else and I am getting a good return on it, which is again adding to my profit.
Just to add on here, Vivek, I think your statement will hold good when you look into the segment wise or product line wise P&L.
Right.
But since we are looking holistically here, it will be very difficult to derive at what you are telling. I think what Deepti explained and what Nishant added on, from a holistic view, that would probably that will help. But yours is, I'm not telling yours is wrong, but when you look into the segment wise or product wise P&L and balance sheet, what you're telling probably will be able to determine that.
Right.
Exactly. So this data is not sufficient to derive the conclusion which you just made.
Exactly.
That will come from the upper part. So if Ishwar, if you scroll up a little bit. So when you analyze these numbers, right, from here you will get, okay, my sales is 3,050 crore. And then what is my net profit? 150. So basically 5% is my net profit margin. So here you can see how the margin expansion is happening. So that is what Deepti referred to, that if you see 10 years data, right? So let's start from March 2010. If you see on a sales of 5,000 crores, their net profit was 250 crores. So it was 5%. Yeah, another factor which I forgot. It could also be because of taxes. If taxes go down, the company need not do anything. Still your profits will grow faster than revenue. Did it make sense?
True.
That was another factor which we missed.
There was this, yeah.
Does it make sense, or you have a question on that, the tax part?
It will also depend on whether this profit is before taxes or after taxes.
Yeah,
so these are earnings before.
Well, the PAT has grown tremendously in the last 2 years.
Dheeraj, so when you are talking about the profit growth, right? I'm sure they are talking about PAT only. It should go down.
Okay.
It should be PAT only. Does everyone understand what is PAT? Okay, because we use these jargons, guys. Please understand. So PAT is profit after tax. PBT is profit before tax. Okay. Where is that glossary we were supposed to make? Where is Vaibhav is not here now. Siddharth, can you discuss with Vaibhav? We need to get this glossary out. Yeah.
Okay.
All these terminologies. Huh?
Okay, we'll put up a document of that.
Yeah,
We'll upload it on the drive.
Yeah, Vaibhav and Ankit also to help on this. Okay, get all these words: PAT, PVT, EBIT, EBITDA,
Right,
ROC,
okay.
ROE, all of that. Okay, and then keep adding. It will be thousands of words, but let's.
I think we can just get it from the internet and then we can just download the doc and put it up.
Yeah, we can.
Everything will be available already. Okay.
Yes, everything is available. Just need to organize it.
Yeah. Okay.
So Nishant, PAT is basically net profit, right? I mean, here they did not use PAT.
Yeah, so net profit, because they have deducted tax from there. So that is PAT. So if you see profit before tax, then they are saying 22%, which means on 323 crores, they paid 22% as taxes. So around 64 crores. So if you do 64, 323 minus 64, so it's 62. So actually it is 21. So somebody has put 22. It's not even 21. It will be less than 21, 20 point something. But yeah. So yeah, net profit is your profit after tax, correct? And sometimes even taxes are refunded, but yeah, those things I will not get into now. So here is where you see the numbers. So if you see in this year only, the profit, the sales went up by 30%, little over 30%, but profit went up by much higher than 30%. So here you can see where all they saved the money. So expenses didn't go up by 30%. So this is where they controlled maybe, or did it go up by 30%? But operating profit went up by 50%. You see this.
So this means that they were able to capture a larger market with the same infrastructure, right?
Correct. So maybe per store sales went up. So now you can derive more logic. So in the same store, I have the same fixed cost, right? Electricity, water, I pay the same or maybe little extra. But
one of the reasons for that is because they have one store with all their range of products. So they could have derived more sales from that. Like in one store, I mean, they have Titan, they have, all their different products.
And for the retail business, it is extremely important. That is why they evaluate same store sales over the same period. So for example, for April 2010 to March 2011, in this store, I made 5 crores as sales. In the same store, if next year I made it 7 crores as sales, that is a very good thing. So that is the key target given to the store manager, to increase same store sales and do whatever, be creative, but show the numbers.
Omni-channel across product segment.
Yeah, whatever the store does, they have to increase the sales. That store can have their own website, whatever, do whatever. Just scroll down, Ishwar. I had a few more questions. So because just looking at the numbers, we can do a lot of analysis. So from sales and profit growth, we can see that the company was efficiently managing capital. By looking at more data, we can see that they did not get tax benefit. Much of tax benefit, only 2 years the tax percentage was 22, otherwise it is consistent around 28%. So which means the company was managing cost better than revenue. So if revenue was growing by 10%, cost was only growing by 7%. So that was very good on the company, and they were probably managing their other income also. So just go to other income.
Nishant, sorry, one point on this. How did we come to that conclusion? So I understand that if your profit is high, that means that either the cost was low or their margins went up, right? The selling price went up. So how did you say that it is either or both of them would have contributed to the net profit? But from this chart, how do we talk about the costs itself?
Yeah, so if you see, right, so go down, Ishwar, please. If you see, the sales is growing at 18%, right? But profit is growing at 24%. So my sales in year 1 was 100 and my profit was say 10. Okay, I have no idea what was the profit margin, right? This is only talking about sales and profit growth. So my sales was 100, my profit was 10, year 1.
Right.
Year 2, my sales is 118 because it's grown by 18%. Right. But my profit is 12.4.
Okay.
Because it has grown by 24%.
Right.
Right. So now how was I able to grow profit more than sales? If everything had gone in a linear fashion, sales went up by 18%, cost also went up by 18%, tax was constant, then my profit will also be only growing by 18%, right?
What if they increase the selling price, right? The cost of manufacturing is still the same, the costs are the same. What if they
selling price per unit is anyways part of my sales growth, right? So we are not talking about how many watches I sold or how much volumes I sold. I'm only talking about the total sale value. So yes, I could have increased the price of a product also, but still I was able to increase the price of the product by 18% only. And if I had increased only the price of the product, then my profit would have gone up much higher, right?
Got it. So here the takeaway is that the compounded sales growth is not the unit value. I mean, it's not like it is the literal total amount accrued in sales.
Exactly.
It's not the volume of the product that's sold. Okay.
Exactly. So go up, Ishwar, please. So when you see the CA compounded sales growth, it is compounded this number sales. So it has just done the averaging of the compound. They have used the compound formula. So if you look at it year on year from 2008 to 9, it is like 30% growth, 900 crores. I'm just doing rough maths. It will be 28% something. This from 2009 to 10, this was the crisis year. You see the growth was 800 crores, still 20%. Then 2010 to 11, the bounce back year. So there the growth is 1800 crores, which is almost 40%. So you see over 2 years it averages out. This is what will happen in the COVID year. Okay, so always compare these numbers. So COVID also you will see the same. This year to 2021, if you compare to 1920, you will see same 10-12%. But then next year will be big jump. But then now this company has become very big. So now the growth rate is tapering a little bit. So if you see from here to here, from 20,000 crores to 21,000 crores, the growth is only 7%, which is in that last number, TTM, which was only 6 or 7%. So even before the crisis, the revenues were not growing that much.
Right.
Okay, does it make sense? Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Ishwar, go down. I have one very interesting question to ask below. Now, if you see here for 10 years, the profit grew by 23.39, but the stock price grew by 23.64. What does that tell me about the P ratio? What happened to the stock's P ratio in that time?
I think it will decrease little bit.
This is an open question for everyone.
I think that it followed in step with the growth in profits. So, in a sense, as the profits grew by the same growth amount, the stock price went up.
Correct. That is so very evident. What happened to the P ratio? So, for example, 10 years ago, the P ratio of Titan was 30. Every year, P ratio was increasing from 30 to 31, 32, 33, 34, 40, or was it going down, or did it remain constant?
It went up.
I think it remained constant.
Who all says it remained constant?
To earning ratio.
I think it remained constant.
It remained
Not sure,
constant.
but yeah.
Okay. Don't look at the data, yeah. Just.
Okay, sorry.
So P2 is profits to earnings per share, right?
No. What is the formula for P ratio?
I need to refresh. I think I remember it.
Price divided by earnings per share.
Correct.
So price of the stock by earnings per share. Right. That's true. So price into the total, assuming that the total number of stocks has been constant throughout. If your price to,
yeah, it will remain constant.
It should remain constant, right?
It should, or it has. There is no should, right? There is no should rule, right?
It has remained constant.
Yeah, and how do you derive that? Just go down, Ishwar. Just by looking at the CP, the profit growth and the stock price, how do you determine that?
So my assumption was that since the stock price has been consistently increasing and the profit is what you gain after you give out in dividends, right? What you give out in dividends as earnings per share. So if the profit
No. You don't give out dividends. So this profit after tax is before dividends. Profit after tax is always before dividends.
Okay. So profit after taxes before dividend. If that's the case, then the PE ratio should have gone low, not remain constant.
No, but why?
Because if the stock
So say
price
your P
divided
ratio
by
was say you don't have share price here, right? So let's assume your profit was 100 crores 10 years ago. Okay, and your P ratio was 30. So what will be your market cap of the company? Question for everyone. Your profit was 100 crores. Your P ratio was 30. What was the market cap 10 years ago? $100 into 30, 3,000 crores, right? As simple as that. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So then my profit grew by 24%, which means 100 became 124 crores. My stock price also grew by same percentage, which means the P should be constant, right? If the P had expanded, then then the stock price will grow higher than the profit growth. So if my P had become 35, the stock price growth would be much higher. It will not be 24%. It will be 1.2 times of my profit growth. So it will be 28%. Am I making sense? Is this clear?
Can you explain it again?
Okay, 10 years ago, my profit was 100 crores. Okay. My P ratio was 30. So my market cap is nothing but profit after tax into P ratio is equal to my market cap. Agreed?
Yes.
So 100 into 30, 3,000 crore is my market cap.
Yeah, right.
Next year, my profit grew by 24%.
Nishant, I have a doubt at this point itself, might be very trivial, but PE ratio is stock, I mean, the price of the stock divided by the earnings per share, right? So I need to do earnings per share multiplied by the total number of shares I have to get the overall market cap of the company.
No. So your P ratio is correct, what you said. Current share price divided by the EPS. So if you do EPS into P ratio, you will get the current share price, na?
Right.
So here I am saying I know the profit. I'm assuming the profit is nothing but earning per share, right? Okay, so if you want to talk in per share numbers, let's assume 10 years ago my profit was 100 crores. Total number of shares outstanding is 10 crores. So what is my EPS? Guys, question.
Profit divided by number of shares.
10.
10. So my EPS is 10, right? Now my P ratio is, say, assume 30. So what is my share price? 10 into 30, 300. Clear? Not clear?
Yes.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, it's clear. Yeah.
Now my profit went up by 24%, which means my EPS went up by 24%. So my EPS for year 2 is 12.4. 10 plus 24% is 12.4.
Yes, right.
Now if my P ratio remains constant at 30, so my share price will be 12.4 into 30. So my earlier share price was 300. Now my new share price will be 372. 12.4 into 30 is equal to 372.
Yes.
Clear?
Clear.
My share price in year 1 was 300. My share price in year 2 is 372. 372 minus 300 is 72. 72 on 300 is 24%.
Yes, now it is clear. Thanks.
Now, if my P ratio had expanded and become 40, my share price would have gone where? 12.4 into 40. So it would actually be 12 into 40, 480 plus 0.4 into 12, which is 4.8. So my share price will be 480 something. So if my P ratio had expanded, my share price growth would be 60% if my P ratio had gone from 30 to 40. Clear, not clear?
Yes.
It's clear. Yeah.
Reverse, if my P ratio had contracted to 20, my share price would have gone down actually. So although profit would have gone up, share price would have gone down. Now we understood the theoretical aspect of how P ratio is calculated as a formula. But how does market assign P ratio to a company? What is that factor?
Sentiment.
Sentiment, exactly. So what is that sentiment? Which sentiment is this? What is the market thinking of when it is assigning a P ratio?
Is it the expected
future
growth, future growth?
Expected future growth of
Company.
Of company, obviously, but of which metric of the company?
The profit.
Profit metrics.
Of PAT always, okay? So
Yeah.
basically, as per value investing or growth investing, the standard rule of thumb is, if I am expecting a company to grow its PAT by 25%, I'll assign it a P ratio of 25. So in value investing, that is why we check the PEG. So if the company's expected profit growth for next year is 30% and P ratio is 25, we assume it is undervalued. If the expected profit growth is 30%, but the P ratio is 100, we believe it is overvalued. Classic case of Tesla, where profit is growing less than the P ratio, much less than the P ratio. So that is the difference between a growth stock and a value stock. So basically, in simple words, coming to this equation, what I wanted to highlight is, if your profit is growing 23.4% and CAGR, this is a very good correlation of P ratio being constant. And basically, this tells me that Titan's P ratio, if it is around 24, I will consider it to be a good company. Now we can check what is the current P ratio.
Okay. So price to earnings.
Go up, it will be there. Just put here in the ratio, add PE. Yeah, it's there, 59.43. Which means, yeah, so as a value investor, this stock is overvalued.
It is overvalued.
Yeah. Also, if you divide the PE ratio by 24%, which is the growth rate, you get something which is much bigger than 1.
Yeah, just put the PEG. Screener gives you the PEG. Just put PEG here. We'll give you.
PEG. Okay. I was getting around 2.
Yeah, this is probably using the last 12 months. So the last 12 months growth was only 12. So screener data is little confusing. Sometimes it's not up to date. So we can just pull the latest quarterly result and see. I think they haven't published the March quarter. So we can just take the last, once they publish the March quarter, we can take the annual results. I don't think so. They have published the March quarter results.
March 2020, they have something.
No, have they published the whole year result for this year? I was not able.
Okay, so this is the quarterly. How do I change it to annual?
Where exactly are you? Where are you?
I'm in the quarterly results.
Go to the profit and loss tab. You have this numbers. These are annual numbers. These are not quarterly numbers. Okay. You can click on view standalone.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are your annual numbers. So this is for whole year. So TTM is trailing 12 months, but it is not showing March 2020, which means they have used the last 4 quarters available. So they have calculated from January to December 2019. January, February, March 2020 is yet to be published. I'm trying to pull that out. I'm not getting it.
I found another website actually. I don't know if it's useful.
Nishant, I have a doubt.
Go ahead.
So when you said it's overvalued, right, at 59, the PE ratio, which was at 59. So when you say it's overvalued, you're telling me that at 1,000 rupees, it's not worth paying 1,000 rupees, is what I conclude?
That is the value investing rule book. So the value investing rule book says that if my profit growth is 30%, PE ratio should be 30 or below 30. So, okay. And generally you can use the last five years. So even if I use the last 10 years based on that metric, the PE ratio should be no more than 24. So which means Titan is not a value stock. It is a growth stock. Okay. So then we need to see whether it can perform. See, the rule of thumb is if its PE ratio is 60, last 3 years, did it give me 60% profit growth? And next 3 years, can it give me? Can Titan give me 60% profit growth this year compared to last year? I don't think so.
I don't know. Okay.
Okay, because I don't think this year the market will support 60% profit growth. Having said that, there are other factors also. Now, other factors is in India, we have a lot of dodgy companies. Okay. Yeah. So in BSE, out of 4,000, maybe 100 can be trusted. Now, in the market segment that Titan is, it is clearly the leader.
Plus, with these recent China ban, they will even get more traction.
Yeah. Yeah, but which Chinese competitor was there
most
for Titan?
of
Anyways, Titan
for watches and eyewear, there is quite a big competition from China.
Okay, cool.
Not jewelry. I'm not talking about jewelry, but I mean only the watches and eyewear segment, and now smartwatch.
Yeah, point taken. So that could be other thing. Then we need to see share of wallet. That I don't know. So share of wallet is like, what is the total market for jewelry in India? Is it 1 lakh crore, 2 lakh crore, 50 lakh crore? And now what percentage of that market is controlled by Titan? 3 is cost of funds. At what cost can Titan borrow from the market, and how well is it deploying that capital?
If you see their 1 second.
Just staying on that point. So when you say this is not a value stock, it's a growth stock. So you are going to expect that you will not see a huge growth in the share prices in the near future. Like you're not entering at the right time. How do I link this with the current market price of?
Not the same
so
growth.
Basically, first, as a value investor, Dheeraj, you will reject this company out of hand. You will not invest in it because this is not a value investing. It doesn't meet the basic criteria of value investing.
Value investing. Okay.
So as a value investor, it is out of picture. Now, as a growth investor, you need to see whether that high PE ratio that Titan is demanding, what are the factors contributing to it. So right now we are at a very preliminary stage of analysis. Maybe we will continue this next week as well. So we will have to then look at factors that justify this high PE ratio. And if we are able to justify it, then we will think that, okay, this may be a good price to enter.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Yeah, Ishwar, sorry, I hijacked your presentation, so you can go back. You had some points that you wanted to cover.
Okay, where was I? So we talked about CAGR, and then I just put up some ratios which I learned recently. Return on capital and return on equity. So from what I understand, they should be greater than 20. By definition, return on capital is how much return do you get if you put in a certain amount of money into the company.
No.
Okay.
So ROC is different and ROE is different. What you just explained is ROI, return on investment.
Okay. Return
So
on
can
the
someone
equity.
explain what is ROC? This is open for everyone.
Return on capital. Did I hear it right? ROC, right?
ROCE, yeah, this one. Return on capital employed.
Return on capital employed. It's basically the folks who have invested money, which is the shareholders, and what is the return they are getting? Basics here.
I think it's above the company. So if they have invested, let's say 100 rupees, how much money are they?
How much money are they getting out of for that 100 rupees in simple terms?
No, so ROC has a specific formula. Who can tell me that?
I can tell. Guys, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, go
ahead.
Yes,
better now.
So ROC is primarily basically the capital, the
We can't hear you.
Is it okay now? Hello. Hello.
Your voice sounds like you're far away.
It seems that my microphone is not working appropriately. Is it better now? Anyhow. No. Sorry guys, I think
actually can I give it a go, guys? Can I try from what I remember at least? Then Nimit can correct me as well. So if I remember, ROCE is more of a measure on the efficiency of the company in utilizing its capital, right? And the ROI is how efficient you are able to generate profits from that capital. ROCE is purely talking about how well are they using the capital to run the company itself. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that's what I understand also. Hello?
Yeah, there is, I think we lost everyone else, right?
Oh, really?
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So ROCE from my perspective is what is the value we are getting on all of the capital employed, which is equity plus debt, including. And while the ROI or ROE is what is the return we are getting on the equity.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, ROCE is debt plus equity, whereas ROE is just equity.
That's what my understanding is.
Okay, yeah. Apparently Nishant has some internet issues.
Yeah, I just joined back.
Okay.
ROC completed?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was it?
So basically the summary is that I hear myself as an echo. Okay, it's better. So return on capital employed is it's basically what the company uses in terms of its equity plus debt to get a rate of return. And ROE.
But what is the formula for ROC?
It is the profits divided by the equity plus debt on an annual basis. So
No, the denominator is correct. The numerator is not correct. It is not profit.
Numerator is earnings before EBIT, right? Earnings before interest and taxes.
Is it EBIT or EBITDA? EBITDA.
EBITDA. Yeah, maybe it
So
is.
yeah,
EBIT.
so I think ROC, I can check it. Maybe can someone Google it, but I think it is EBITDA. It is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. Is that correct, Deepti?
It's EBIT only. I saw in Investopedia. It's EBIT.
Investopedia
Earnings
says
before.
it says, yeah. Go ahead.
It says earnings before interest and taxes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll go back to. Sorry, there was one more thing. So ROE is just the equity. So it's the same formula.
Yeah. Now,
but,
so
yeah.
now the question is then why is ROC using EBIT and not PAT?
I can go ahead if nobody wants. Okay, so why we take EBIT instead of PAT is because that will tell us how efficiently the management is utilizing its capital, because interest and the taxes are not in control, right, of the any organization. So EBIT basically tells the real growth of the company. After excluding, I mean, actually it's the EBITDA, it's not EBIT, which tells the real growth, because the depreciation and amortization is also something which should not be included while calculating the real growth of the company. So that's why the ROC is being calculated based on EBIT divided by the capital employed.
Okay,
that's
but there
a
is
really
also
good
one other very important factor. So what when you are calculating your ROC, what is the denominator have?
Their capital, right? The net capital
Equity
employed.
plus debt, basically.
Equity plus debt, right? So then the point I'm trying to highlight here is in your ROC, it is equity plus debt. And as I said, equity is free, right? If you are taking common shareholder equity, the company is not obliged to pay dividends. You do pay dividends out of profit, but only if you have profit. If there are no profits, you pay nothing. The shareholders have to live with it. So the cost of funds for equity is zero, assumed cost of funds. For debt, it is say 10%. Whatever is the cost. Today it is very less, but say 10%. Okay. So I had 100 crores of equity and 100 crores of debt. Total 200 crores. On debt, I need to pay 10 crores at interest. I have borrowed it at 10% simple interest, payable annually. With me?
Yeah.
Now I have invested this 200 crores in the business. So why I calculate ROC on EBIT is I need to see whether on that 100 crores of debt, was I able to generate more than 10% or not? Otherwise, what was the use of taking the loan, if I'm generating less than that? So when I calculate on 200 crores of my total capital and it comes to 26.8, which means I will round it off to 26. So I generated 52 crores as profit. So on that 100 crores of debt capital, I generated 26 crores of profit. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So we are calculating it only on the debt here, right?
We are calculating on both. So on equity also 26, on debt also 26.
Yes,
but for equity,
yes.
I have other metric also, ROE. So I'll go there separately. So now on that 200 crores, I make 26%, which is 52 crores as my profit. The equity I will remove because anyways that is shareholders. वो तो लेना ही है. The rest 100 crores was a choice to borrow or not borrow. So now I borrowed. I made 26 crores on it. But this is EBIT, earning before interest and tax. Now on this 26 crore, how much interest I will pay?
10 crores.
10 crores gone. Now 16 is left. On 16, say I pay 30% as taxes. So how much is gone for taxes?
Around 11.5 crores would be left up around.
4.8 crores as taxes. So 5 crore round off kar do. So 11 crore is left. So basically this 11 crore is my leverage money or free money, you can say. This now goes to the shareholders. So borrowing this 100 crore made sense. Is this clear to all of you?
Yes.
Questions,
because
please ask.
basically the return on capital employed is much greater than the return on equity. So that means that the debt is being utilized for the benefit of the company.
Yeah, no, don't compare it to ROE. Don't compare it to ROE, Ishwar, here. The concept here is that the return on capital employed, why I calculated on EBIT is because I need to see before interest how much was I able to generate and does it cover the interest part of it. And this in this example, the 10% interest rate was okay because I was able to generate 26 crores. But in the same example, if my interest rate was 2%, it would be even better because my profits would be even higher. In the same example, if my interest cost was 25%, then it would be a bad deal.
Also, guys, ROCE will always be less than ROE.
No, it will not be, Nimit. Because the metrics are different, right? That is what we discussed. So for ROCE, the denominator is, the numerator is EBIT. Whereas for ROE, the numerator is profit after tax minus dividends. So it's not even profit after tax. I just pulled that up.
Okay, shall I continue?
Yes, you can, but I wanted, basically is the concept of ROCE clear? Just focus on ROCE today and how that is determined to understand how much money can I borrow. So in the same example, because my ROCE is so high, I could have even borrowed 200, 300 crores from the market, provided the interest rate was 10% or lower. Because after paying the interest and the taxes, I'm still left with a good amount of profit, which I can then slowly use to repay the interest, the loan, and then I will be left with a huge pot of extra capital for my equity shareholders.
So Nishant, you're comparing the 10% to the 26.8%. Is that right?
Exactly, right. So that is how, so now as a company, I've become like a bank. See, understand in the financial world, right? Everything is about efficient utilization of money and numbers. So if I am borrowing 100 crores, and that is why I keep saying, right, that in today's world, in US, people will get for 3%. So even in India today, Titan can actually borrow at 7% maybe. Because HDFC Bank is getting, what is the repo rate last we checked? 4.65, right? What was the repo rate?
4, right? 4.2 or
4 is the repo rate, right? Yeah. So HDFC Bank is getting loan money from RBI at 4. Add a 3% spread. So Titan can get money from HDFC Bank at 7%. And if they maintain that 26.8% as ROCE, which means on 100 crores or 1000 crores of loan, they will generate 270 crore as profit. Interest will be 70 crore, left with 200 crores. In that 200 crore, pay 30% as taxes. So left with 140 crore. Repay 50 crore to HDFC Bank. Still 90 crore is left, which goes to my profit, PAT. That PAT will then get added up. In fact, that whole 140 goes to PAT. And this
Nishan, sorry, slow down a little bit. What is the component of 50 crores that you're paying back to HDFC?
That will be a loan repayment, but that will not go from the profit anyways. That will go from my cash flow statement. So that will be shown separately. So, but my ROE will jump like anything. Okay, so slower. Today, Titan's say equity capital is 1000 crores.
Okay.
They borrow another 1000 crores from HDFC Bank at 7%. Considering ROCE of 26, they will be able to deploy that 1000 crores and generate 260 crores as profit on that EBIT. So their EBIT will go up by 260 crores. From that EBIT to get to PAT, I will have to subtract interest. So interest will be on 1000 crores, 7%, 70 crores. So 260 crore minus 70 crore, 190 crore is my EBT, earning before tax. Say on that 170 crore, tax rate is 30%. So 50 crore gone in taxes. No, how much is 260 crore, right? So minus 70, 190. So 60 crore. So 130 crore is left, which is my PAT, profit after tax.
Right.
So that extra profit I generated, right, for my equity shareholders without issuing new shares or taking more money from my shareholders. I have taken a long-term debt, and this debt could be say for 10 years.
Okay.
Or 20 years at 7%. So then I need to repay every year 50 crores of principal amount. So anyways, interest component will also keep going down every year.
Right.
So basically the point I'm trying to highlight here is, as long as I borrow money, but I'm able to generate positive EBIT out of it. So in this example, by borrowing 1000 crores, I'm generating a profit of 260 crores, and after paying interest and tax, I'm still left with, so after paying interest component of 70 crores, I'm left with 190 crores. And then after paying taxes of another 60 crores, I'm still left with 130 crores. So that 130 crore is a positive number, right? As long as I'm able to do that, it is okay to borrow, provided I can continue to generate this ROC. If this ROC goes down after 2 years, then it is a problem. So this will depend on the management's projection that how efficiently they will be able to use this money. And in fact, they could look to increase it also. So instead of 27, how can I generate 40% if they have ideas for that?
Nishant, but what if, okay, the interest rate that HDFC is providing is 7%, and then you remove, rounding it off to 10%, let's say on a 100 crore debt, you pay off 10 crores onto that, and you're remaining with 16 crores. On top of this, you're paying 30% tax. What if your tax percentage is so high that it doesn't make sense to borrow money and generate so little revenue for the equity shareholders?
Then you wouldn't borrow. But in this example, it is making sense, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So if the tax percentage was 90%, then yeah, probably no. But then in India, if you see, corporate taxes were reduced, right?
Yeah.
So basically, all I'm saying is that in a lower rate interest rate environment, if the other policies are in place, which means your single day sign off and easy availability of land, labor, etc. See, economics is about 4 factors, right? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Indians have always had entrepreneurship. As long as your cost of capital, so the capital has been very expensive in India, and then of course land and labor, there are other issues. If these 3 can be streamlined, our economy could grow at 15-16%. And even if that generates 8 to 10% inflation, that's okay. As long as your economic growth is higher than inflation, it's a positive for the economy. Okay, I will end here.
But my point is, why EBIT? It could have been PAT divided by the capital employed, right? In that case, that would give a even more direct metric to understand if they're returning anything to the equity investors or not.
That is what you get from ROE, right? That is after dividend also. So in ROC, in fact, even in ROE, I am now surprised why they are deducting the dividends. It should actually be PAT, but I just saw that it is after dividends. But in ROC, why it is EBIT is because the interest will be paid from that share, right? So that is why it is borrowed money. So that is why they are using EBIT. So to show that before interest, how much profit am I making?
But what value does that hold? I mean, that's what I don't understand. I mean, I understand Nimit's point where they say that, it only shows the efficiency of capital utilization because income tax is not under their control or depreciation is not under their control. But as a investor, okay, that only shows me how well they're utilizing the capital. That's the takeaway, if I understand it right.
Yes, maybe Dheeraj and Nimit can add here. But yeah, maybe I'm not able to give you the perspective.
I think Nishant, you have summarized it well. I'm sorry, I didn't get the name. Who was asking the question?
It's Vivek.
Vivek. I think what you could probably do is just relook at the formula. I know it's first time you're hearing this. you will have to spend some time here to really understand what
Right.
Nishant just explained. I mean, there's no other explanation other than what he gave. It will be
I
like
know.
repeating the same thing in a different way. That's it.
I agree.
So just mull over it for some time. You'll get it. You'll definitely get it.
Sure.
It's not rocket science.
Because I
can
mean, I was just
also
trying
add.
to correlate what Nimit said and what Nishant just explained. So what Nimit said, I understand about the fact that EBIT, it makes more sense to do EBIT divided by capital employed, because that shows how efficiently they've used capital. So they've removed the factors which are not under their control or purview.
No,
But-
one minute. See, EBIT
Yeah.
is before interest, boss.
Yeah, so it's before interest, right?
So I have to pay a loan. That's what Nishant was explaining. I have to pay a loan and I have to pay an interest. That is, there is still some liability on my head. I'm not still cleared of my liability. That's why I don't want to use EBIT, because there is still something which I need to pay. So then I pay that off, and then I come to my true worth, which I can say it is my money. And Nishant went one step ahead. He said, dividend bhi nikal do, because dividend I have to pay to the shareholder.
I'll give Dheeraj and Vivek, I'll give more perspective to it. From the organization perspective, what they look forward is for the organic growth of the company, right? And when they said that the organic growth of the company, it means that what money they put and what growth value they have brought to the company, right? So they don't consider the interest, taxes, the depreciation and amortization. That's why they always, you go ahead and look onto the numbers of any big companies, they always do the EBITDA. They present their numbers to their management and the leadership in the terms of EBITDA, because they want to project their organic growth before deducting all these informations, because the tax percentages can change, interest percentages can change, right? And then there are the depreciation for their assets, and then the amortization and all those things. So that basically helps them understand what organically they have grew in as per the last year, year-on-year basis. So that's first thing. Now coming on to your question, Vivek, to understand it more technically, also I can I can extend to what Nishant explained is. So why we use the EBIT for ROCE and not the PAT is, so looking at the formula, it is EBIT divided by equity plus the debt. And as we know that, and as Nishant also explained, that the equity doesn't have any borrowing cost, right? It is free money for the company. Right? And similarly, debt has certain cost associated with, right? So if you are going to use the PAT in the numerator and equity plus debt in the denominator, that will not give the justice to both the money, equity and the debt, because equity doesn't attach any cost to it, while the debt attach cost to it. You see?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that is why this interest and tax component is not being reduced in the ROCE. On the other hand, on ROE, you have the PAT and divided by the equity. Again, because PAT is after reducing interest and taxes, because there is no, let's say, borrowing cost for the equity. So that's probably one of the reason as well. Again, that's what my understanding is. I may be wrong, but
Right.
No. I think
I'm just
you're
thinking, what does the
across.
metric PAT divided by only the debt give us? So that should give us.
I think that is probably not would be the right, because PAT is for everything, right? It's including equity money and the debt money, while the debt is only a very specific part of the total, let's say, capital. I'm not really sure whether this will going to give us any sort of, let's say, important information, but I may be wrong.
Because my perspective is, when we are doing PAT by only debt, since we already agreed that the cost of equity is zero, and then a real cost as a company is only because of debt, and then the ratio of the profit to this debt ratio should tell me how efficiently am I managing my debt as well.
No. So for debt, there is a separate ratio here. So there is a debt equity ratio. So that we will talk some other day. So what is a debt equity ratio? Okay. So I think we have discussed this long enough. So Vivek, I have shared some articles. Just Google why ROCE uses EBIT. Okay. So So there are some interesting articles. Just read it. That will give you the perspective.
Okay. Sure, guys. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dheeraj, Nimit, and Nishant for going out of the way.
No worries, yeah. So next session, just mull over it, and then we can have some different perspectives. So even I was under the impression for both it should be PAT, which was wrong. And then I think somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, and they did some research. And today again I saw a new thing. For ROE, it is not PAT. It is actually after dividend. So they are not even using profit after tax. So after they have distributed the dividend, what is left is they are saying that is the return on equity. Now I don't understand that at all. I'll have to do some digging myself.
Is it true that it's after deducting the dividend? I'm thinking it's a net profit.
Right, but I saw somewhere that it is after dividend.
I think in Investopedia at least it says it's after dividends, according to the numerator.
I think Nishant, I think it's really trying to calculate what is really free money there, where there is nothing left to be paid. Even if I give off the dividends, that will be my true return. So there is no liability beyond that. I have cleared everything.
That's not correct, right? Then you should have a risk-free. Then you should have a risk-free rate of return, right? Because dividend is at the company's discretion. Right? There is no guarantee. So if my PAT is 8 crores, I could choose to pay 2 crore as dividend. I could choose to pay 80 crore as dividend. So if the company which is actually paying a higher rate of dividend, its ROE will go down.
ROE will go down. Agreed. I totally understand where you're telling. Maybe this is a different school of thought. Reducing a dividend is a different school of thought, because even I did not know that dividend has to be reduced, because it's totally discretion of the company to pay or not pay.
Exactly, right? So what would make more sense is have a risk-free rate of return. So say my equity is 1,000 crores and have 5% as RF risk-free return. So minus that from the profit and then take that. So basically if my profit is 200 crores, subtract the RFE, and they say, okay, so my and it should be then a risk-free ROE. Because at the end of the day, that is just that word.
So Nishant, you just use another term when you say risk-free return. That's the constant percentage the company is promising the shareholders that it will pay year on year, right? Provided that there are profits.
Company doesn't promise anything to the shareholders. Risk-free rate of return is, say, as a shareholder is an investor, right? So instead of buying the shares of company X, why I could have kept it in a bank, and there I would earn 5% without taking any risk. So why should I give money to your company and take risk?
Right.
So Nishant, I just checked the Investopedia. It says that net profit is the matrix. It's not the profit.
It is net profit minus dividend. ठीक से देख.
Let's see that. Dividing.
Hi guys. So sorry, I have to leave. Is it okay if I leave, Nishant?
Yeah, Ishwar. So you can continue tomorrow. Okay. So I think we went into the ratios because I think it was also important. So we can continue tomorrow, and I think you can complete your presentation and then give the final recommendation, whether it's a buy or a sell or a hold.
Okay, that sounds good. I actually don't have a lot of things here.
It will give you some time to also, I think it would have given you some perspective also. So it will give you some time to complete and extra time for reading. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Ishwar. Okay. Thanks for presenting.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ishwar. Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.
Nishant, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it? Hello?
Yeah. Share.
You guys able to see the screen?
Yes, we
can.
Yeah, so here it says that net income divided by average shareholders' equity, and then net income is calculated before dividend paid to common shareholders and after dividend paid to preferred shareholders, and interest. Interest is okay, but it clearly says that net income is calculated before dividends paid to common shareholders. So where I think
what is the difference between dividends paid to the common shareholders and dividends paid to preferred shareholders?
Investopedia is explaining it correctly. That other website confused me. So it is showing, right, that net income is calculated before dividend paid to common shareholder, but after dividend paid to preference shareholder and interest to lenders. So it is subtracting the preference dividend.
So I think somebody here asked what's the difference between common shareholders and preference shareholders. we can discuss about it later. I don't want to digress the conversation. One of the types of shares which can be issued by the company is preferential shares. They will have some preferential rights over many things in the when it comes to getting dividends, or as the name suggests, they'll have some preferential rights. We can go deeper into those things probably later.
Right.
It is just one of the type of taking money. For example, if Nishant comes and takes money from me for his own company, he'll say, boss, I'll give you some preferential rights. So you become a preferential shareholder. The general public, they will all be common shareholders whom Nishant will never know who they are.
Right.
In simply I'm putting it, we can discuss about this deal.
Yeah, I can read about
sure.
it.
So, but in summary, right, Vivek, preference shareholders are like your lenders, like bondholders.
Right.
So they are giving you money at a fixed rate. So they will also fix a fixed rate of dividend, say 8%. The only thing is, when you have to pay, you have to first pay to the interest to the bondholder, then to the preference shareholder. Equity shareholder is last. You can choose to pay him nothing. Zero dividend also, they cannot complain. But they have voting rights. Preference shareholder don't have voting rights. But as Dheeraj said, we will do one session on it. Where is our Vaibhav is not there. Siddharth is there.
Siddharth also left up. I just saw the message. Nishan,
Ranjit is there. Ranjit, put this on the agenda. Huh? Tell to Siddharth and Vaibhav. Preference shares and so who are preference shareholders, who are equity shareholders, who are bondholders, and the role of all three.
Yeah. Nishan, but even wouldn't so the dividends to the preferred shareholders is not with is not at the discretion of the company itself, is it? So that's like it's like a compulsory component similar to your interest rate to be paid to the bank. So irrespective of the profit, they would have to pay it, or is it only conditional upon profit? Because with respect to the interest rate to the bank,
it is conditional upon profit for preference shareholders by and large. But the first, so it is like if a company makes 100 crore profit, who has the first right to profit? So PAT, we talked about PAT, right? If my profit after tax is 100 crores, now the first right of on that PAT is for preference shareholders. So if I have already 500 crores as preference share, which I have issued, and I have guaranteed them 10%, which means 50 crores I have to pay them. So from PAT straight away 50 crores I'll pay it as preference dividends.
Right.
And then I will be left with 50 crores which belongs to equity shareholders. The normal general shareholders, what you call them.
Nishant, I think you asked somebody to make a list, right? What to come up with what is preference shareholders and common shareholders. Maybe they can also include debentures also, because all these are ways of raising funds. So in one go, you can discuss all these things, and it will be easy to differentiate between equity, preference, debentures, or small deposits or whatever. Just
exactly. Yeah, of course. That is what I mentioned also, that first comes the bondholders. So so bonds, debentures, we can put all of that.
Yeah.
So sources of capital. We already did one session on it, but yeah, I think we need one more. So different ways a company can raise money.
Right.
Cool, guys. We are almost at 1 hour 40 minutes. So any other questions? But good. See, with me at least, what happens is after the session starts, right? Sometimes before the session, I'm lazy and tired. But once the discussion starts, I get energy. I don't know how it is with others.
For me, this is my learning.
Yeah, it just took me back in time. I mean, many things I had forgotten, and I could clearly make out when you asked me a question and you asked me to explain. I could make out, boss. I was not able to do it. It really took me back, and now I have to really brush up my basics.
Yeah.
Good. That is the whole point, right? To challenge everyone and get back to the basics.
But it was nice having you, Dheeraj, and Pranali on the conversation. Like you were shedding light from your financial backgrounds as well, so that's quite nice too. So the group is getting exciting. Yeah, that's nice.
So just one thing before we go. So for tomorrow, can we set the agenda, like who all will present? So I know Ishwar will present. Kunal will also present. Who else will present tomorrow? I don't know whether we will get to the second person. So we need to stretch it for next week also, Titan only. So others also, can you please read up and present? Need not be like a Word document or anything. You can just talk also. But if you want to make a PPT, there is no issue with that also. So it's completely based on your preference. But please prepare something. So who else can present apart from Ishwar and Kunal, if we have the time? Who can be prepared for tomorrow?
Present
Tomorrow,
as in what we have to do.
Sorry?
Present as in what we have to do exactly.
So analyze Titan and give your recommendation. So,
Okay.
So like Ishwar was saying, and then questions will come up. So people will ask you. So the final outcome will be you will have to recommend whether you recommend a buy, you recommend a sell, or you recommend a hold based on Friday's closing price and your reasons for the same.
But Nishant, this has to be purely fundamental, right? Do you expect people to, when you say recommend, if you ask me, I'm also seeing on the technical side, right? It may influence me to come and put that onto our discussion. I don't want to do that because technically.
No, it is so see, you can say it is a technical or a fundamental recommendation. So primarily we are focusing on value investing. So your recommendation will be a 30-year time horizon. So if you're recommending a buy at 1,000, in 30 years you will tell, okay, you see it as 500x. So basically if I put in 1 lakh and do nothing for another 30 years, after 30 years it should be at 5 crores. My 1 lakh should be 5 crores, or 1 crore should be 500 crores. So that I can give half to my children and half I can use for my retirement. Something on those lines.
Okay.
So that is as a value investor, but you can also do a technical recommendation that as per the charts, you see that in the next 2 months, it has given a breakout and you see it at 1300 and somebody wants to trade on it. It's up to them. Because in trading, there is one very interesting strategy that I'm following. You buy on Monday, and if you get a good price, you sell on Monday. Otherwise, you hold for 2-3 days. So that works also pretty well. And then say you bought it at 100 and after 4 days it's at 103, you make a 3% profit and then you try to do intraday. If it falls on the same day and you get a lower price, you do a intraday, but without leverage. Leverage is what kills you. No leverage at all. Play with your own money. Fine. So coming to the agenda. So tomorrow we have Kunal and Ishwar as presenters, and who else? Who else is saying they will do it?
No, Nishant, I can do it, but I don't talk about the numbers. But I can give you the optimistic view about this company, what I see. I can forecast some optimistic view about this company.
Yeah, Ranjit. So presentation is your style only, right? So that's fine. Then people will ask you questions and we will, you know the model, right? So that's fine. So Ranjit will do it. So 3 we have. Anyone else wants to be ready for tomorrow or next Saturday?
Yeah, maybe I can do for next Saturday.
Okay, cool. So Pranali will be for next Saturday. Our agenda writers are gone. So Ranjit, just make the note and give it to Vaibhav and Siddhartha.
Okay.
Chalo, thanks guys. Really good talking to everyone. And hopefully the session was useful and informative. And let's meet tomorrow at same time, 3:30. Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye guys. Thanks.